Welcome, everybody, to the LIPSEY'S Aim Higher podcast. Jason Klossner across from me. I'm Rob Abruzzino, and we were on a little hiatus in March because we just go like...
First quarter's pretty crazy.
We just go nuts here.
Yeah, we have SHOT Show, and then we have our big March Madness, promotion in the whole month of March, which is it really takes everybody on staff's full attention. So,
absolutely.
But I always like it because in April I know we're about to get back on the podcast train.
That's right. It's beautiful outside. It's time to get out, start shooting. And today we have a special guest from TALO Distributors, Kane Cannedy. Kane, what's going on, man? Live via phone.
Hey guys, how are y'all?
Good.
Glad to be here.
So we got a lot of ground to cover, and I guess we can kind of just kick things off with the question Jason was just talking about that he always gets, that we always get, that I didn't quite understand my first stretch here at LIPSEY'S is TALO. What does it stand for? What is the entity? What does it do? Where does it fit in the industry and so forth? So, Kane, we'll let you kind of field that, maybe a little quick history lesson on TALO and where it started and kind of where it's come to now.
Sure, yeah, absolutely. I'll try to do it somewhat quickly. I wish it was easier to kind of get across, but so TALO came about 1965 with fishing and hunting wholesalers in Texas, Arkansas, Louisiana, and Oklahoma. It's TALO.
So the L doesn't stand for LIPSEY'S then.
It does not, unfortunately.
Okay. All right.
Unfortunately,
it does now.
No matter what Jason says.
It does now.
Yeah.
All right.
So that's how it kind of originally came about. That's how the naming came about. It was really kind of the first of its kind as like a buying group at the wholesale level, which really just didn't exist. So a lot of it was, trying to pool resources, make sure everybody was getting the best deals, things like that. So it's morphed. Over the years, we've had a lot of different members over the years, like the founding members. A lot of them, I don't really recognize as being anybody around anymore. So people have come, people have gone, but we're 10 members currently, and they're all in the firearms piece. So we kind of dropped the fishing part of it quite a while back, and really for the last, let's say, 25 years or so, we've been very focused on special editions. So we work with pretty small number of manufacturers, really. Very, very premier, very, very good manufacturers. We're very picky about who we work with. So it's a way for us to kind of group together and do some things that are exclusive to that group and have some fun. And we've had some pretty good success. I think we have a pretty good name out there, especially among the kind of collector community and that kind of thing. So
yeah, you guys have some fantastic guns. There's about maybe 20 lines, give or take, that you've worked with over the years or currently, I guess.
There's about 10 of them that we kind of work with day in, day out. We're always looking at, what other opportunities are out there, and some things are just kind of one and done and go on. But, several of them we have kind of continuing products that we do.
Right. So you've been at the helm now for about a year, a little over a year, actually, taking over for the great Bob Coyle. And
correct, yeah.
He's probably fishing now, I guess. Or,
I can promise you.
Yeah. So
likely fishing or golfing. That's be my guess.
There you go. Yeah. So how's the ride been over the last year? I imagine you're probably starting to kind of get your arms wrapped around this and sort of corral it.
Yeah, for me, I was lucky. I was actually a part of the group. So I've worked with the team there and with you guys, for several years. So the transition was a little easier for me, just kind of understanding it and being a part of it. I was lucky enough to get asked to come over and do this, and it's been a ton of fun. I mean, there's been a little bit of a learning curve and kind of figuring out just a different world of doing it and kind of being a one-man show versus kind of being on a team my entire career. So that's taken a little getting used to, but it's incredibly fun. The people I get to work with are just fantastic, from our members to the vendors that we work with. I mean, that's the best part of it, is I just get to work with really, really good people, and we get these people together a couple times a year, and it's honestly, it's one of the most impressive groups that I get to be a part of, and now sit kind of at the head of the table and try to make these things happen that we all talk about and try to make go. But it's been incredible. I love it.
That's great, man. I know, here, and Jason can, chime in here. Jason obviously heads up a lot of our special makeups, our exclusives, things like that, almost solely.
Exclusively.
Pretty exclusively. So is that a similar process, kind of compared to how you were doing it compared to now? Or you mentioned, you've got more people. Is it more by committee? Are you, and Jason, I'll let you chime in. I know you're talking to manufacturers,
sure.
Product development people directly, like
as
pitching ideas and things
Kane
like that.
alluded to, we meet as a group a few times a year.
Yeah.
And so generally a lot of times there's a lot of ideas kicked around. We'll sit in a room with all the members or representatives of the members, and then with representatives of the manufacturers. And usually there's a little back and forth between ideas that the members bring versus the ideas the manufacturers might have, and usually whatever either side have walked in with is usually massaged a little bit, and something much better comes out of those meetings.
Right.
And then we can plan from there and go forward. So there's a lot of input there. And there's a lot of good ideas sometimes that there's some stuff that we do have ideas for, but it's just a project that's maybe the manufacturer looks at as it's too big of a project for one distributor. Yeah. And I think that's one of the reasons why TALO is very successful is that a manufacturer can come in and have a cool project with potentially up to 10 distributors.
Right.
That'll go out and do a great job. TALO does a great job of marketing and advertising these projects. And that's always been one of the hardest parts for not only the distributor, but for the end user is to find out about these things.
Right.
And for, 25 years ago, it was really tough because you didn't have all the social media and all the internet stuff where you could get this stuff out. People didn't want to spend $100,000 on an ad campaign for a 250-piece run. It just didn't make any sense.
Right.
But now with TALO, they do a great job of getting that message out there. And I tell you what, the end users now go to TALO to look for a lot of cool projects, especially with Colt and Ruger and Glock, where there's a lot of projects that really have a lot of resale value later, and you look at some of these Colt projects from 5-10 years ago, and the bidding on Gunbroker just gets to be astronomical. It's beautiful. Really kind of fun to watch.
Colt runs deep with TALO. I know that. Yeah. There's some beautiful guns. It's TALOinc.com, by the way. If you want to go check that out. So collectively have projects gotten done through TALO that weren't approved by, say, an individual distributor like us, something that we really wanted to do, but like you said, you got to take it to the group and you're able to kind of get it done that way.
Sure.
That happens? That's
sure,
cool.
Absolutely. Yeah. Cause again, sometimes the project is just too big.
Right. Yeah.
And then other times, it's one of these things where, Bob, for years he had a great relationship. For a long time he lived in Massachusetts, so he lived in the back door of all his manufacturers.
Right.
Pre everybody working remote and everything, so he was able to go be in their back door all the time and see what was going on and be able to get in on the front end of things as they were progressing at the manufacturer's level from concept to reality.
Yeah.
And now TALO's had such a good run at this, the manufacturers just feel comfortable with letting TALO take it and run with it. And Kane's done a great job of keeping it all together, and him having a distributor background understands the process and what it takes to make it successful. So it's a great partnership.
I was going to ask, Kane, as the executive director now, I mean, do you get any creative time, to kind of think about projects, or is you got more of that sort of CEO role, I guess, almost?
Yeah, I mean, to a degree, absolutely. I mean, that's one thing that's taken me a lot of getting used to. I always joke that, like, in my past life, other people decided what my day was going to be, and now more so I get to kind of decide what my what my day is.
Right.
While there's a lot of stuff to do between, keeping up with the website, trying to get emails and stuff out there, talking to everybody, even down to the accounting and all that kind of stuff. Like it's all on me to do that.
Yeah.
So I've got to be very intentional about making that time. And some of it's just, running through books, looking up, websites, stuff like that. But that time is really the most fun. And then when you see something go from idea to creation, I know Jason knows this, all the work that goes behind some of these things, like it's like, having a baby where you have this proud moment where it gets out there. And a lot of people don't understand, like, what all it takes to get some of these things done. Some of them happen fast and they work really well. But some of them take a lot of time to get done. Yeah, absolutely.
Well, a lot of
so
people
those are the most rewarding ones.
And a lot of people forget about the financial risk it takes to do these projects. When you go to a manufacturer and commit to buying 10 or 15, 20,000 of something, you better be damn sure.
Yeah.
You know, because it can get out of hand pretty quick.
And the internet's throwing rocks at you on day one.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. So it's
it
and the manufacturers, when it's a special project like that, to them it's sold.
Yeah.
There's not a whole lot of incentive to really go out and promote it so much.
Right.
So it's really up to the team to do it. And look, our partners at TALO do a good job of helping promote that. And at Ruger especially, I mean, they've had complete catalogs of just TALO projects that they've done for years. And that's super helpful because the hardest part from a lot of consumers, and I'm sure, Kane, you probably hear this all the time, I get consumer calls or emails all the time saying, I wish I'd have known that was available. From 2018, I would love to have bought one. Now they don't make them anymore, and so it's getting that word out there. So you guys and girls out there listening, subscribe to the TALO Facebook page.
Yep.
Go check out the TALO website.
Yep, absolutely.
And stay on top of those things. Check that periodically because things will pop up on there, and you got to act quick. It's one of those ones. When there's a cool TALO project that comes out, it's not a time to sit back and go, well, let me think about it. It's if you think you wanted it, you better jump because that stuff now, the dealers know that it's going to move pretty quick and it can do that. We have a lot of dealers that have TALO sections in their store now and they're in their showcases. So that just shows you how valued the retailers see it as well.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Go ahead.
Sorry, I was just going to say to your point on the website, we did spend some time and money over the last year redoing the website.
I was going to compliment
making sure that's on there.
Yeah, I was going to compliment you.
I appreciate it. Yeah,
it looks great.
Yeah, it's turned out really, really good. So trying to get the thing for me too is I really see that TALO site being a very good historical record. As things kind of disappear out of the market or just end up in secondary markets, it's really hard to find a lot of info. So that's a big focus of mine is not only the new stuff that's coming, but also our historical products. Just make sure there's a place where, we kind of have some of the details and things about it, or somebody, finds a used one somewhere they can go look up and kind of know a little history about what the product was and that kind of thing. So that's been really fun to do and get a lot of comments through the website, which has been great. It's tough to keep up with at times, but really, really neat to kind of get feedback from dealers and consumers, honestly.
Yeah, it's fantastic. It really, it's very well organized. I noticed that actually a little while ago, but as you guys redid it, the photography and the imagery is really great too. So, really presenting it well. And of course, you can find this through any LIPSEY'S dealer, any active TALO items. You can get through us. So just a little shameless self plug there, but it's possible. So moving along a little bit, let's get into some specifics, some specific projects. One of which is pretty huge and extremely recent.
Like Monday.
Yeah, as of Monday. So just a couple of days ago, we've got a brand new Glock, and Jason was just kind of schooling me up on this new Glock 28, and as far as like some of the import restrictions on it. So you really got sort of first stab at this, Kane, as far as helping get it here and do an exclusive with it. So let's talk through the project a little bit on how you made all that happen.
Yeah, so this one was kind of an interesting, almost a happy mistake, to be honest, and a huge testament to our partners at Glock. And those guys are so good to us and so supportive, of what we do. And so that's a huge part of it. But really the opportunity came up where, it looked like there was going to be some production opportunity at Glock, and very specifically on certain models and certain versions. So we kind of put our heads together on, what can we do to take up some of that can be impactful, that can be really fun to do. So a few things kind of came out of that. Quite honestly, there's a few projects that we're doing, but the one that we've kind of kept behind the veil a little bit and have been the most excited about was the Glock 28, which up to now hasn't really existed in the U.S. commercial market. So because of the import restrictions, basically, so getting it produced in the U.S. So this model is produced in Georgia at Glock facility. So getting all the information basically from overseas to here so that they can produce the gun here, get the magazines, stood up, all that kind of stuff. So that's kind of how it went through. And it was exciting for us, just something that wasn't out in the market before, that we could bring as a group and get out to dealer shelves and ultimately in the hands of consumers.
What's the initial reaction on it?
The feedback I've had so far has been incredible. I mean, I've really had a lot. I've seen kind of two parts of it so far. You know, a little bit of the unobtainium, just something that you couldn't get, and excitement about something new popping up in the market, especially on an iconic brand like Glock. And then the other part is people are just very interested in those kind of legacy frames that have been around for a while, have been incredibly popular. So like a Glock 26, right, at 9mm, still a popular carry gun, 10 round, decent capacity on it. Great gun, but bringing that in the 380 caliber to hopefully be, a little more controllable, a little softer shooting. So there's a lot of excitement on that. And that's kind of the two ways I've seen so far.
We've seen a big uptick in medium-size 380s the last few years. The 365, 380. Ruger's got the new 380 that just came out, and so there's a lot of the Shield EZ N380. So there's a lot of, I think, interest in guns that aren't necessarily pocket size, but are in a lower recoil type round. So this is actually probably pretty good timing. But yeah, you're right. I've been following the feedback quite a bit on this, and the Glock collectors are very excited. I mean, I definitely gotten an education on Glock collectors over the last few years after the P80 project and the Gen 1 project, and those guys are really pumped about this because, like you said, this is just the Glock 28 was I think introduced into the market like 26 years ago.
Oh wow!
So. But it was always been in not in the U.S.
Yeah.
The 380 cartridge doesn't have enough points to make it in for the importation deal, so they had to be made in the U.S. and Glock just never had the capabilities to do it or the capacity to do it here.
Scott just ran one of these up here. It's sitting right in front of me. I haven't even picked it up yet. It from 3 feet away.
It's a Glock 26.
I was going to say it looks like a 26 or a 27.
Yeah,
really,
it would fit the same. It fits the same holsters and everything else.
Okay.
Matter of fact, really the telling tale is that if you look at the back of the magazine, it's got like a little ridges on there, so it'll fit in the same mag well, but even though the actual the follower and everything is shorter,
right?
Because the cartridge is 1 millimeter shorter than a 9mm. But anyways, it's just a really cool opportunity for these to be able to put it in their collection, because that's always been a missing component there. It's funny because Glocks are really easy to keep up with. And, you start with 17 and we're up to the Glock 48.
48,
yeah. So if you're missing a 28, you got to have it. You got to have it in that collection. So it's pretty cool. And the benefit too is it's a pretty soft shooting gun.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Have you got out to the range with it, Kane?
I have not. I have not had the opportunity yet. They just, everything kind of ran pretty fast. Been working on this for several months, really, but really just the product kind of got out to everybody, and launch happened, pretty quickly after that. Just so we'd have, a little bit of product out there, and still have some more coming over the next few months, and kind of see where the project goes from there.
Yeah, I have a 26. It's beefy and handles recoil pretty well. So I haven't shot this, but I imagine it's got to be even a little bit better. I've also got the 43, so I like the size. As far as concealed carry, the 43 is a little bit smaller, but it's got a great feel. And back to the great finger groove debate, as we go.
Yeah. For those listening in too, it is a Gen 3 gun.
Yeah. Correct.
Obviously, there was no Gen 4 or no Gen 5. There was no Gen 2 on these guns. It started as a Gen 3 28. So it's going to be that same same look as the original 26. So it does have the one finger groove and no front serrations and all that kind of stuff. Now much debate. Oh, I know. But the recoil system on it is a little different. It's a kind of a blowback design. That's weird because I messing with the gun, the barrel it's not a straight blowback, I don't believe, because the barrel does tilt and everything like a traditional lock breech gun, but it's a slightly different recoil system. So so that's how they kind of worked around 380 back 26 years ago when this gun was developed. Now the Glock 42 has a locked breech system, so it's a little bit different. But obviously that gun was designed 4 or 5 years ago.
Right.
So, but it's pretty neat though. Some guys I know who have shot them quite a bit here in the last couple of days. Said they're pretty soft shooting and pretty accurate too.
That's fantastic, and so congrats. I think we'll see some nice success through TALO with this gun, Kane. I know we're excited about it. And we have these?
Yeah, we got them. We launched them on Monday. I think we sold that first batch out pretty quick.
I'm sure.
But we got more coming. So.
Okay, cool. What else? What else do we want to talk about? Let's touch on some other stuff. I know you, like as mentioned, you've got a lot of irons in the fire. We don't want to tell any secrets, but what's maybe something else new, or maybe in the works, something that you can divulge to us?
Well, we've got keeping kind of with the Glock thing. We've got a lot of stuff going on there. Again, just to point out, they've been such a great partner here recently. Just letting us have some capacity and do some fun things. So right now we probably have as many kind of ongoing TALO Glock items as we've ever really had. 43X with the Shield RMSC sight, which has been very well received. Obviously 43X is still super hot, and that sight, has been very popular. So we've done really well with that. We brought back really into like the 43X and Gen 5s. We brought back some of our AmeriGlow sight models, slightly changed the front sight a little bit from kind of what we used to do with the old Gen 4s and 43s and 42s. But kind of nice sight picture, just a good upgraded sight, but keep the value kind of there, is what we were going for there. Glock 44 with a threaded barrel, which is pretty cool. Obviously, with so many suppressors out there, and there's probably not a funner caliber to shoot with a suppressor than a 22. We thought that would be a cool thing. And then we're also working on some kind of upgraded slide models with another partner, doing some like polished stainless slides and like an oil rub bronze, and doing some engraved patterns and stuff like that, which would be kind of cool. So yeah, a lot of stuff going on there. Always, Ruger's a huge partner. I think we probably have over 100 current TALO exclusives working there. Still a ton of demand on a lot of those. We're seeing more and more of them after the craziness of the last few years kind of get in, but always some fun stuff going on with that crew for sure. I will say that we've probably got some, I think, pretty exciting, Colt projects coming down the road between, maybe some single actions that I think are going to be really, really neat. I'm very excited about that project. And then several 1911s and maybe a caliber that we've never done before, which will be kind of exciting. So few things in the works that we'll see kind of through the rest of this year and even early into 24. So a lot of stuff going on there, but I mean, across the board, we've got some really cool stuff coming with Mossberg that we're just kind of itching to get onto the market that we think is going to be really, really neat. Just really among all of our partners, we've got just really, really cool stuff happening. To me, it's a very exciting time, and as business kind of changes and the craziness of 2020 and on, and kind of wanes off a little bit, it really opens up the opportunity for me, and then also for LIPSEY'S too, right, is finding these kind of niche things and having production open up where we can go have some fun with these projects again, and just get some of our kind of existing stuff back into the market again finally.
I know, Kane, you probably like me, when things are crazy and nuts like it was the last few years, you feel like the Maytag repairman sitting back waiting for somebody to call. And now it's like the phone just rings off the hook. It's like, hey, we want to do something.
I was going to ask both of you guys that question. Do you feel like those production schedules are loosening up a little bit? I know,
definitely.
A lot of our bread and butter exclusives, we frankly, we haven't had for a long time, but that people are constantly hitting us up for and asking, when's it coming back? And we feel good about the I guess the short and long term future.
Yeah, it's coming back. Yeah. I mean, it's not coming back as fast as I think Kane or I would want it to.
Right.
But it is coming back, and I think as we go a little further into the year, especially, I think as things, I think, who knows? You never know. I mean, and everybody thought last year would be as good as it was. And, this year's been fantastic too. So, but, if it does slow down during the summertime, generally these manufacturers, they're invested. They want to keep these machines running. Sure. And so they're all ears. But look, like we were talking about earlier, this stuff takes time. You can't just call up, Ruger and say, hey, we want to do this. And then 3 weeks later you start shipping them. I mean, it takes it takes sometimes, up towards a year even to get, especially to do something that's really different or meaningful. I know when TALO did the Wiley Clapp series of guns, I mean, that took a little bit of time because there was a lot of engineering involved there. It wasn't just slapping a different grip or a different front sight. I mean, there was a lot of detail there. And so those things, these manufacturers have to validate those when they start cutting on slides or cutting frames and stuff like that. You got to retest all that. And so, and if there's a 6,000 round endurance test and you get to 5,500 rounds and you have an issue, you got to start over again. You don't pick up at 5,501.
Right.
So sometimes these things just take time. I know, especially when it's an oddball cartridge or whatever, and everybody wants something cool in the oddball. But just sourcing the test ammo can be a real challenge a lot of times.
Yeah.
And so those are all things you have to factor into all this. And so just be patient. Fortunately, through TALO and us having a lot of different manufacturers that we do this with, usually there's something always in the queue that's about to pop up. So we always have something fresh. And I tell you, the TALO meetings, I always leave those coming back home. I always feel really, really good about it because I know there's some cool things going, and there's always at least 2 or 3 things I'm like, I got to buy one of those.
Yeah.
So those are the ones that I'm like, all right, if Flint and I are coming back and I spend half the trip back talking about how I got to have one, then we ordered a few extra of those because we know it's going to be a good one. But yeah, so it's a really exciting deal, and we've got a TALO meeting coming up pretty soon.
Yeah, we do. Yep. Gonna be out on the East Coast and hopefully have some good fellowship and some great ideas and kind of set us up for, the next year or two and see what all we can get into. So it's exciting stuff coming there too. And obviously, as Jason said, we fine tune a lot of things and a lot of new stuff pops up there. So I'm very excited about that. It's one of my favorite things to do is get that group together for sure.
And listen, all the people that are listening in or watching on YouTube, send in your ideas. We take those serious, and I know Kane does too. So whether it's in the comments, whether it's in the podcast at LIPSEY'S email address, whether it's the TALO email address, send those ideas in. If you get one of those 3 a.m. ideas, man, that would be really cool. Send it. Either
absolutely
it's something that, hey, you know what, that's a great idea, or it might be something that's like, you know what, we were kind of going that way, but that little tweak is something that makes a lot of sense, and we can do that. So don't hesitate to send that stuff in. It's always fun to see what you guys and girls out there who are using this stuff all the time come up with.
Yep, and you can find TALO at taloinc.com as their website, and Facebook at TALO Inc. Easy to find, and us, you can send any questions or comments to podcast at lipseys.com. All the social medias for us are at lipseys.com. So Kane,
if you email us that, we'll give you Kane's cell phone number.
Yeah.
There you go.
call him anytime. Those 3 a.m. ideas, especially. He loves those.
So at least give me till 6 or 7.
Yeah. Kane, anything else you want to add or plug, or what you think?
No, I don't think so, man. I think we covered some good stuff. I really, really appreciate the time. I'm definitely a listener of the podcast and enjoy seeing what you guys do and getting stuff out there. So I think it's fantastic. So when Jason asked if I'd be interested, I was all in. I think it's a lot of fun what you guys are doing and exciting projects going, and I'm just pumped about it.
Well, we appreciate what you do as well. So, keep on trucking, keep this group in line, and keep cranking out this good stuff. So,
do what we can.
Yeah, you got it. So, thank you, folks. And until next time, aim higher.